Hello, hello. Like I said, this is important, and I don't want you to walk away after yesterday's video thinking that none of it is important, or that there is nothing that can be salvaged. So let's talk useful tech. Tech that helps us with things that actually matter. I talked about security, having very low energy, and very low energy is probably going to be the name of the game. Low energy motion sensors, or solar powered motion sensors. What's more likely is like close function, like the home automation system, or home security systems that have door devices where the magnetic read switch holds the switch open and unpowers the device. So basically the device only has power when the door is open, and basically as soon as it turns on, it starts sending the message, you know, this ID code is active, and then that's translated by the home base. And I have sinuses. So something that requires zero power unless it's in active use or being used. So think of a gate circuit that only uses electricity and transmit the state of the gate when, a physical gate, only transmits the state of the gate when the gate is open. What else? So with electricity, things like security cameras, you know, like a Raspberry Pi motion sensor kind of thing, that'd be very useful. It's a non-proprietary, and it would be, you could make use of it for other things. Management of things like your farm, things like automatic waterers would be pretty good. You know, you can have little circuits with moisture sensors in them. Bury the moisture sensors and let them water the plant as the dirt dries up. Let's see, what else? Chicken coops. Chicken coops, in the morning you open up the chicken coop. That can certainly be automated. I also bought a bunch of ESP8266 modules, and I'm kind of regretting it at this point, just because they're a little bit more high data rate rather than long range. But the range isn't that bad for inside a home, but I'm pretty sure I could just program a little repeater out of them, so I'm not sure it makes a big difference. Things that have, that's more like on the communication side of things. And there's things like interpersonal communication, organization, stuff like that. In those cases, things like handheld ham radios, or radios that are along the personal band, would be very useful. And I just literally, these allergies, right, so there's like I already ordered one of those while I was thinking about all this, and I'm like, well, what of this tech is actually useful at this point? So I came back to that in my list of stuff, and I was like, oh, this is literally exactly what I'm talking about. You know, zero infrastructure, basically. Although, like, HF would be cooler. Having the local communications is even better. It seems like the more local you get period. Just whatever you're doing, if it's more local, it's better in every way. I think the internet facilitated mass everything, really. Like it opened up the possibility of making things mass consumer, not the internet. I mean, so I was thinking about this, and I came back to like, well, it's the mass application of these things. And I've said that before as far as internet communications. Anything that's going out to a mass of people and is not targeted in any particular way, not directed at one person or a couple people, that it has almost no value. And at this point, I think it actively has negative value. Because in order to approach mass appeal, you have to water down your message. You have to adjust your message for that purpose. So the more local you get, the better. And the more targeted you get, the better. And the internet opened it up for, everybody. The ultimate mass media. And before that, I was like, okay, so mass stuff is bad. Well, what was before the internet? Well, mass media, mass newspapers, mass television, mass movie production. A movie chock full of symbolism and emotionally designed to perfectly present the ideas to you and then prevent you from processing them any further, just so you just kind of accept it. Literally designed that way. It's amazing. I had no idea. But they designed all this for mass consumption. So I'm like, okay, how far back does this go? And my wife is reading a book about, it's called Weapons of Mass Instruction. And it talks about the destruction of the school system. Apparently, basically the pre-Civil War school system. And how it just became targeted for mass appeal and mass adoption. One message for everybody, because we're all the same, right? Everyone's exactly the same. No, we're not. But if you educate them to be, and you tell them we are all the same, then that's what happens. That's what people believe. And when you believe things that aren't true, you suffer. And those around you suffer. So like I said, I've been unlearning a lot of stuff. I'm definitely learning a lot about sinuses and allergies, and I just can't make this thing go away. Having a good time over here. I forgot my coffee. Okay, now I'm having a bad time. Right. So, she was talking about this as it applies to the Civil War. So she said around the Civil War, after that, there was a need for cohesion, and they kind of made, that's when they built the, what's it called, the Department of Education and all those systems. And that's when things started to go really downhill, because there are assertions and statements made in there that I can't necessarily verify. Well, I literally can't verify them. But they fit. If you're not sure why someone is doing something and they tell you a reason and it doesn't align with the outcome, you could probably more accurately work your way back from the outcome. Was this outcome intended? Well, he says no, but he keeps doing it. So what does that infer? The fact that it came back to the Civil War was interesting to me, because Vox Day talks about the Civil War as the turning point for when America was last a nation. And there's a lot of different definitions or different types of considerations for what a nation is, especially for a nation like America, which was at certain points a nation that was fed by immigration, but is not a nation of immigrants. It is not. historically not the case. Plus, the phrase "a nation of immigrants" appears at a certain time and had never been mentioned before. And now it appears in other countries. That phrase. I'm sorry. His consideration for when America was last a nation was right before the Civil War. Because after the Civil War, and, maybe the South shall rise again. After the Civil War, it's technically an empire because it had conquered another nation state. I'm not even sure how you would define nation state at this point. It conquered another group that wished not to be part of that nation, and then it said, all right, now that you're here, here's what we're going to do. You're going to learn this, you're going to do that. The rules imposed on them were not the rules of reconciliation. They wanted to change minds. They wanted to fix the way that the people were thinking so that they did not maintain a rebellious spirit. And I'm suspicious of how many things grew out of that. So if you want to go back that far, maybe that's the first mass application of idea changing, mind changing instruction. It's very interesting. Well, I mean, it's scary. It's not. It's scary. It doesn't make it less interesting, though. Those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. And those who pretend, if they invent a new history, that people can be made better by believing that fake history, well, you're gonna find out the truth. So farming, huh? Food. Security. Communications, community with your neighbors and your neighborhood. These things are important. I'm probably going to wind up getting my ham license. Just because, there's no reason not to be legal for something like this. Plus, I want to learn stuff. I always want to learn stuff. If anyone's cringing out there, the radio I got as I'm just kind of sticking my big toe into this water, wading into this, is the BaoFeng UV-5R something. I don't know. You know exactly what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. So. It's one of those, it's cheap and Chinese and has a wide band width, I guess, is technically the term. So, that'll be interesting. But I'm more interested in the new technologies that are becoming available for communications. I'm also working with a friend of mine on mesh networks and stuff like that. Figure out how to make things more and more local. More later. Bye.